Revenge films.
My name is Jennifer. My husband Kevin and I moved to this town because of my husband's work transfer. It was a small town in the suburbs, and there wasn't much going on. The people in town were very kind, and because of that, I was able to make close friends pretty quickly. Around the time that we moved, I was in the first trimester of my pregnancy, so I was often relaxing at home by myself. Luckily, the period of bad morning sickness was over, and I was feeling really healthy. So I spoke to my husband about perhaps starting an activity. He agreed that maybe it would be good for me to have a change of mood instead of being home alone all the time, so I decided to start taking piano lessons. I've always wanted to play the piano ever since I was a little kid, and if I ever had children, whether it be a boy or girl, that was a dream to have them learn piano. And that was because of the influence of my mother, who was good at playing the piano. And that's why I thought that even if I was getting a late start, if I started learning now, maybe I would be able to enjoy playing the piano with my children when they were of the age that they would be able to start taking lessons as well. And so I asked my friends in the neighborhood, and they introduced me to a piano teacher in town. I signed up immediately, and when I finally met the teacher, I was surprised to see that it was a male teacher, which is not much of a stereotype, but he seemed kind, and I didn't think it was right to judge based on gender, so I started taking lessons. The teacher knew that I was pregnant, and he was very patient with me. He was also flexible, and on days that I wasn't feeling well, he was happy to change my lesson to another date, and I was happy to be learning from him. The piano lessons became even more fun than I could have expected, and I enjoyed taking lessons all the way until my third trimester. During that time, I started learning more songs that I could play, and when I played them for my husband, he was really happy and listened with a big smile on his face. But then one day, as I was walking around town, suddenly a woman I had never seen before came over and started talking to me. Because I didn't know her, I was wondering who she might be. But suddenly she glared at me with extremely intense eyes and started yelling at me.
"You're having an affair with my husband, aren't you? I already know everything. Don't try to hide it from me."
I didn't know what was going on, and I was really confused. I didn't even know who she was talking about when she said my husband, but then I eventually found out that she was talking about the piano teacher, and this woman was the piano teacher's wife. The wife insisted that I was having an affair with the piano teacher in a private room, but because the lessons that I was taking were private one-on-one lessons, there was no avoiding being in a private room together. And more than anything, I wasn't interested in any man other than my husband. To be honest, if he wasn't my piano teacher, I probably wouldn't even be speaking to him or looked in his direction. But to be honest, ever since I was younger, things like this often happened. It was sad for me, but I was told by many people around me that I had a supposedly sexy face. Even when I was a student, girls that I had never met before would come after me and claim that I stole her boyfriend from her and ended up in disaster. And that's why I actually don't like my own face very much. I first met my husband and got married to him during a time when I was hooked on cycling, but then I was caught in an accident and I suffered a really big injury on my face. At the time, the doctor told me that I was going to be left with scars on my face. I was devastated, and every day I was depressed in the hospital room. But during that time, one of the nurses told me that maybe I should go outside and take a walk. When I went out of the hospital into the yard, I met my husband there, who was hospitalized from breaking a bone. Back then, because of my injuries, my face was wrapped up in many bandages. Most of my face wasn't visible to anybody. But even then, Kevin was always trying to cheer me up and was really kind to me. We started to become close, and eventually, even though he had never seen my face before, he confessed his love for me. I was shocked, and I asked him why he was able to ask me out when he didn't even know what my face looked like. But my husband's response was,
"It's not your face that I've fallen in love with. It's your heart."
And in that instant, I decided that I wanted to date Kevin as well. After that, my injuries healed, and miraculously, I was left with no scars on my face. However, when I finally showed him my face, in return, Kevin said,
"I'm not worthy of somebody like you. You're too beautiful. You should be with someone else."
And he tried to run away from me. However, there was no way I was going to let him get away, and we got married soon after. I was married to the love of my life, and so I don't even think about laying hands on another man. And in the first place, I've never done anything like that before either. And yet this wife of the piano teacher refused to listen to anything that I was saying and continued barking at me. I didn't know what to do, so I decided to speak to the piano teacher about it. When I did, he was mortified and he deeply apologized to me. After my piano lesson, he invited my husband and spoke to us about the situation. He then said that he would scold his wife and vowed not to let her anywhere near me again, and both my husband and I were able to agree to that. Not only that, but he said that it would be dangerous for me to continue taking lessons from him. So he suggested that I should quit, and he introduced me to a different piano teacher. From start to finish, the piano teacher was a really great person, and I was sad to have to part ways with him. However, I had to think about my baby in my belly, and I was afraid of anything possibly happening to my baby. For the sake of safety, I decided to do as he said. I thought that would be safe, but not long after that, when I was walking around town again, I ran into that wife once again. And despite the fact that we were out in public in town, she started yelling at me again.
You slept with my husband and tried to steal him from me. As a settlement fee for the affair, you better pay me $300,000.
She was yelling so loudly that everybody turned their attention to us. I couldn't stand all the people staring at me, so I started to desperately trying to defend myself. That's not correct. The child I'm pregnant with is my own husband's child. It's not your husband's child at all. I tried to get her to understand, but the woman latched onto me and grabbed me by the shoulders and continued yelling.
Even if you keep hiding, I know the truth. I know that you and my husband were sneaking around and doing something suspicious.
I wasn't sneaking around or doing anything suspicious, and plus I don't even take lessons from him anymore.
Even if you're not taking lessons, my husband's child is still inside your belly, and I can't have children of my own, but you get to have my husband's baby? I'll never forgive you.
It's only recently that I just moved into this town, and until I started piano lessons recently, I've never met your husband before. There's no way that I could be pregnant with his child. I tried to prove my case, but the wife wasn't listening at all. She was furious, and it looks like she had blood boiling in her eyes. And then suddenly, she stormed towards me and she pushed me with full strength.
I am not going to let you give birth to that baby no matter what!
And she pushed me down a set of stairs as I rolled down.
Ah!
I fell at the bottom of the staircase. Luckily for me, because she had drawn so much attention to us in the middle of town, there were a lot of people watching, and I was safe before falling down too many sets of stairs. But I was already in my third trimester, and because of that impact, my water broke on the spot. I was carried by an ambulance to the nearby hospital. Fortunately, the hospital was able to handle the situation very quickly, and I gave birth to a healthy baby without any issues. My husband must have received a phone call from the hospital because he came running over.
Jennifer, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Look, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl.
Thank goodness.
Kevin seemed relieved from the bottom of his heart, and then I showed him our beautiful baby girl on the other side of the glass. Not long after that, the piano teacher appeared in the hospital. When he came into our room, he dropped down to his knees to apologize. According to what he told us, it turns out that his wife was already arrested by the police. At the time, there were so many people watching her push me down the stairs that while somebody was calling an ambulance, others had reported her to the police. When she tried to run away, he said that other strangers tackled her and held her down until the police arrived. My piano teacher said that he knows this isn't something an apology can fix, and that he would do whatever he can to pay for what his wife had done to me. My husband and I knew that the piano teacher had done his best to handle the situation well, and that he didn't do anything wrong. He had even introduced me to a different piano teacher, who should have been his rival in terms of business, for the safety of myself and the baby. That's why in this situation I also felt bad for the piano teacher. According to him, that wife was always suspecting him of having an affair with somebody because he was a good-looking man. And that's why she would be harassing the young women who started taking lessons from him, and eventually they would run away and quit. Of course, every single time that would happen, he would scold her and try to set her straight, but his wife's delusions were already too deep. And then he apologized again that he really shouldn't have accepted me as a student from the beginning. But because a woman in the neighborhood who didn't know the full situation had gone out of her way to personally introduce me, he wanted to be able to help. And that because I was already quite pregnant, he assumed that his wife wouldn't be able to say anything. But he said that that was too naive. In the end, my husband told me that the piano teacher paid him quite a large amount of money as an apology. My husband said that he tried to deny the money, that the piano teacher continued to insist. And then after that, I heard that the piano teacher got a divorce from his wife. Until now, he had tried to get a divorce from her many times, but every single time she would go into hysterics and throw a panic attack. And if they were to get a divorce, she threatened to start a commotion. And so he wasn't really able to go through with it. But this time, after what happened and the many witnesses that there were, his in-laws gave them their full support and he was able to successfully get a divorce. And then I heard that the wife was sent to a psychiatric hospital by her own parents, and that's where she's living now. As for the piano teacher, he also made the decision to quit teaching the piano lessons and to move out of that town for a fresh start. I did really feel bad for the teacher, but I was happy for him that he didn't have to be with that wife anymore. And more than anything, I was relieved that she wasn't out on the town anymore either, and that I would never have to see her again. After that, my husband and I were thrilled to be parents and worked together to raise our beautiful baby girl. To this day, once a week, I leave our baby daughter with my husband, and I still continue my piano lessons with the teacher that my original piano teacher introduced me to. I can't wait for the day that I get to enjoy playing the piano together with my daughter.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.